Apparently, some of the ministries paid as much as $80 for a single roll of toilet paper, which, is an amazing fact unto itself. But once that news got out, you might imagine that people in India are infuriated. And those that are infuriated, this is the best part. Politicians have not realized that with the high growth, mobility, and the demographic revolution, aspiring Indians will stop seeing themselves as victims and will soon start to interact. In other words, what he's saying is, with so many cell phones and now social media taking over India, you're starting to see this anti-corruption movement really take hold, and the politicians are starting to get scared because they've never seen anything like this. The rise of India and China has brought dignity to the middle classes. And that's because the middle classes have become empowered now because of things like social media, cell phones. They're interacting with each other more. Did you know there are now 851,695,668 cell phones in India? You think about just how much coverage exists now for the 1.2 billion that live in India. A large majority of them now have cell phones. And because of this, they have access to the internet and to social media, which is causing this anti-corruption movement to really take off. And that's why new leaders like Anna Hazare and his hunger strike movement have become so powerful that even the Wall Street Journal is covering them here in the United States to talk about what is happening overseas.
But you know what? They need to be careful, because in India, you cannot denigrate a member of parliament. In other words, you can't say he's a thief. You can't say he's an illiterate, because exactly, Om Puri, a Bollywood actor, and of course he's also acted in some of the British movies, he said that. And the member of parliament got so angry that they had him arrested. Kiran Bedi, she also said that they want to arrest her. They want to send her to jail.
That, to me, I think is the beginning of where the anti-corruption movement needs to change in India. It's starting with free speech.
Have you heard of naked weddings?
I can imagine it.
Folks, it doesn't mean naked that you know. You know, in China, they believe when a wedding occurs, it's wedding between two families, not between two individuals. That was the Confucius, the great Chinese thinker that came out with it. Remember, one-child policy in China, particularly everybody prefers a male child, so they have very few women. So women demand, their families demand, a certain amount of money for their daughter when she leaves the house. They particularly prefer that they should have one property where the boy and the girl can live, and it should be bought by the boy before the marriage. Okay? So now property values in China have really gone sky high.
Wow.
And you know, many of these women and men live away from their families. So what they're doing now, they're saying that, look, I'm 38, I'm 37, I'm 36, I'm 35. You know, I got to get married. When am I going to get married? Because I can't buy a house. And the women are also going for the same thing. Look, I'll tell my mother that you already have a house because we want to get married. You know, they want to get on with their lives. So this is what is called naked waiting, where they don't have any money exchanged, you know.
So it's the anti-dowry wedding, which is a great idea.
Precisely, and that is what is really taking China by storm. These are the young people that are very concerned that somehow if they stay on the sidelines, wait to buy the house for the woman, you know, it's going to be extremely difficult. So it's kind of nice to see that the young ones are changing the world little by little.
Well, our economic times is causing new trends to emerge. This was just funny, folks. I read this in Time magazine. There's these new gated communities. There's a lot of senior communities now where, they're big sprawling things. They have town centers, but to get into them, you have to get through a gate.
Yeah.
Well, a new concept is emerging in these gated communities, and this is known as LSVs, luxury low-speed vehicles.
Okay.
So, in other words, these are nothing more than golf carts that are being used in these communities, but they're tricked out. They're like souped up and tricked out. They have all the latest gadgets and things you can imagine. And actually, these are street legal, folks. So anywhere where the miles per hour or your speed limit is less than 35, these are street legal.
Yeah.
So what you're finding is that not only are they showing up in these gated communities, but they're even showing up in places like New York City.
Wow.
in parts of New York City where getting around is difficult, and the traffic can be a mess.
I wouldn't
But
recommend it in New York City, though, with all those big double-decker buses. They can't see a little golf cart going around.
But it's true. Now, in some states, will allow LSVs on any road where the speed limit is less than 35 miles an hour. Even in New York City, where people are starting to use them in Central Park South to get through the park and so forth, which makes sense. These are not cheap vehicles, though, folks. You can spend as much as $21,000 on a tricked-out golf cart, and it has everything in there from a dashboard, refrigerator to chrome wheels. And you can even have fancy headlights and so forth for this thing. It's like a real status symbol for people living in these communities.
Actually, the leaner version of it, somewhere around $7,000 to $10,000, and they run on electric. So consequently, there is no smog, and you're green, and it's cheap.
And in fact, all you need to be street legal in these low-speed luxury LSVs are headlights, taillights, rear and side mirrors, and seat belts.
And brakes.
And brakes. And of course, you have to worry about the fact that, the crash test on these guys is not as good as a regular car, of course. But, if you live in one of those communities, you could tootle around in one of these things and get the girls, I guess.
People call gambling as a stupid tax on poor and middle-class people. Because, mostly rich people don't play lottery. They actually have money. But the rest of them want to have money, so they play lottery.
They gamble with bigger things.
Yeah, and also these guys are budgets. It's like they buy $20 worth of tickets and all the rest. States make a tremendous amount of money. Did you know that they made as much as $7.6 billion in 22 states?
I can believe that. In fact, some of the local states here, Maryland and Virginia, were considering gambling as well to try to beef up their cash strap, these states. And so this is one way for them to make money.
Now consider Illinois, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, now even Maryland, they started a casino. I mean, imagine this. New York State that had a law that says only on the Indian land you can build a casino. So New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is looking into constitutional change in the state of New York to build casino. Wow. Illinois already has casino. They want to add more. You got New Jersey. They want to add more. Last year, Pennsylvania, Delaware, they started casinos. Maryland State is starting a casino this year.